Hello YouTubers, this is Dewey in Nashville. I'm going to be starting a much bigger garden this year, and so I figured I would take you around the yard to show you where I'm starting from, and that way you can see what I'm doing and maybe get some of your thoughts and input on things that aren't going so right in my garden right now, so that when things expand they don't get out of control and I don't create just bigger problems of the ones I'm having now. So let me take you on a tour of our property here. I live in a subdivision, so the property sizes aren't that big, so I've had to come up with creative ways of doing my gardening, and the internet and YouTube have been a big help for that. Larry Hall, LDS Prepper are just a couple of the people that I've followed that give me some great ideas on how to expand the size of expand the amount that I can get from what property size I have to work with. And I'll show you exactly why I don't really have a whole lot of property to work with. Yes, I have a big backyard, but that guy right there and his sister make it almost impossible to do any gardening in the back. As you can tell, I've had to put up stakes, and I don't know if you can see it from this camera, but there's wildlife netting in there, and the dogs have kind of pulled out the wildlife netting and have already started digging up the beds, and so anything short of chicken wire I don't think is going to keep them out. So I'm having to garden where they can't get to, which is on the outside of this chain link fence. So right here we have a tomato plant, and being the novice gardener I was at the beginning of the year, I did not save the exact type of tomato plant it is, so I don't know exactly what I'm working with here. You see it's in this container. I got mulch on the top, and all these containers out here that I'm going to show you were planted using the Miracle Grow potting soil. It's growing great guns right now. There's my spray bottle of soap water. I had a cucumber beetle infestation a couple weeks ago, and I've been out every day spraying all the cucumber beetles, trying to get rid of them, and squash bugs are starting to rear their ugly heads too. Here's a cucumber plant. It's not doing so hot. This cucumber plant, those two peppers right there, you can see, let me come up over the fence here. You can see this pepper plant and that pepper plant don't seem to be doing so hot, and I'm wondering why. I have an idea, and I'll tell you about that when I get to my tomato plant down here. We got a couple of strawberry plants that are actually doing pretty well. I've probably gotten about a dozen strawberries off of them. They've been kind of misshapen. Our bees around this area are not very productive, or at least haven't been productive through the midsummer. I think I killed some of them. I started doing an inorganic pesticide, and I think I got some bees with it too. So I scared them off, unfortunately, and I'm hoping they come back. I've seen a bumblebee around here doing his thing, and so I'm hoping he can kind of pick up where the honeybees left off after my mistake, and that they come back. Here's a tomato plant that kind of has me worried. You can see it's pretty big. The stem comes down here, goes all the way up, and then it kind of forks, and you've got one branch that goes out that way and one branch that goes out that way. So if you stack this tomato plant up, I would say it's probably about 5 feet tall at least. But you can see I'm having some issues with the branches. They one by one, you can see all the nubs up the plant. They have started to wilt and die. And you got some up here and some up here, and you can see the plant is not generally very leafy. It's more lanky. You got a lot of stems and some fruit, but not a whole lot of the stuff I need, which are these, to give the plant energy. Here is a strawberry planter that I started. You can see how much damage the sun has done to it. It used to all be that color, and the sun has bleached it and weakened it. So this is, I don't recommend these. I tried them. They were $5 at my store, and they gave me a lot of planting space for the size, but they're not lasting. And I did transplant some strawberries. I'll show you those into a square foot garden, and those are going great. Here are some green beans. Again, you can see the effects of the cucumber beetle infestation. Also may have an issue with some aphids too, but I'm more worried about the cucumber beetles because I can actually see them. Here's another strawberry planter you can see, and actually I've gotten a little bit of production off of this. You can see that one was a runner off of this plant, and I took the runner and shoved it into the hole. This whole row here was empty. Shoved the runner in there and it started a new plant. So I'm actually propagating some strawberries. They're not doing much, but I'm propagating them. Now this is some cucumber plants, and you can see they're growing pretty good. I'm starting to get some yellowing on them too. Again, I think that may be a pH issue because I'm giving them nutrients through the compost tea, but they're still kind of turning yellow. So I think I may have a pH issue with those. But yeah, they were having some moisture issues. But since I put the mulch on top and started giving them some compost tea, they are growing great. You can see this one, this stem, I'll pull back so you can kind of see the whole thing. It's growing pretty good. I'd say it's about 6 feet long. It takes a dip there. So it's probably about as tall as me. It starts on the other side of the tire and comes all the way around. And you got some offshoots here. I haven't seen much production off of these, again, because of the cucumber beetle infestation. They have loved chewing up my flowers. And so, especially the female flowers for some reason. Maybe they're sweeter or something. So, I haven't had much luck actually growing anything, because this plant would get really green and start shooting out all kinds of flowers and baby cucumbers, and then the cucumber beetles would sweep in and chew up the stuff that actually makes the flower into a fruit. So that's how I've been able to kill almost all of them, because they'll be hiding right in there. Let's see if I can get it to focus into that flower. You can see now I've got, one female flower there, one female flower here. Get to focus right. One down here. So it's coming back slowly but surely. It's coming back. Back here along the fence row, these don't grow well in containers, so I've planted them along the fence row. I've got a raspberry plant here. It's not doing so hot, but the branch broke. The main stem, it only had this one stem when I got it from Lowe's. You can see it kind of snapped just above the ground on the way home and during transplanting. So given that, it's actually doing pretty good. I've got coffee grounds spread out along the base to kind of give it a natural compost tea action when it rains, like it did last night. Here's another raspberry plant. This one's growing great. You can see it's got 1, 2, 3 canes already coming out of it, and these just got transplanted, I'd say maybe a month and a half ago. So they're doing good. Got a blueberry plant here, and it's probably doubled in size. It still looks a little lanky, but it's probably doubled in size since we transplanted it. So it's going good. It's a blackberry plant that's probably 4 feet tall, that main cane, and it's already sending out a second one, and actually a third one now too. This one's just come out in the last few days. So I'm getting some really good results out of the compost tea, and this Back to Eden area. If you're unfamiliar with it, go to backtoedenfilm.com. All of it spelled out. This tree mulch was all free, and I apologize for some of the debris I've got back here. I don't keep a clean yard. I'm a gardener, not a yard cleaner. But all this is free. Now, the one bad thing is that they dumped it on the other side of the house. And so we had to bring it back here one wheelbarrow full at a time, and that's a pain in the behind. But for free, I'll take it. But yeah, this is buried probably about 4 to 6 inches deep. This area does not retain a lot of water. It's all clay, and this is supposed to help the water retention. So yeah, all this is probably done in the last 4 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks. Here's my square foot garden. When my containers were not doing good, I started looking up other inventive ways to maximize production in small areas, and found square foot gardening. And this is my foray into it. You see, I've got these are the strawberries I planted. They've probably doubled or tripled in size since I put them down here. This isn't the Mel's Mix though from the Square Foot Gardening actual technique. This is Miracle-Gro garden soil. This little thing here is a cucumber plant. It was planted just after this one. Or not, excuse me, that's not a cucumber, cantaloupe plant. It was transplanted just after this one. And you can see this one's growing well up the trellis already. But this one, when it was a baby, just recently transplanted, the cucumber beetles that I thought were ladybugs at the time just swooped in and devoured it. And you can still see on some of these early leaves, let me get my hand out of the way, you can still see how much damage they did, especially like on this leaf. And all the leaves were like that. It's since put out some new leaves since I've started trying to manage the infestation. But yeah, that one was I had almost given it up for a goner because it just looked awful. But it's starting to make a good comeback now that I've got the pest controlled, or at least I'm trying to control them. These are some more green beans, and actually this is a funny story. I had some of those kind of deck rail planters planted over where that tomato plant was, and I'd put these in there, and they maybe grew 6 inches. They gave me a green bean or two per plant, not too much. And so instead of throwing them out, ripping them up, throwing them out, I put them back here. And I could have probably put all of them on 1 square foot, but I didn't. I put them 2 to a square foot because I didn't have a whole lot of plants to put back here, so I spaced them out a little more. But you can see now, there's some more of the cucumber beetle damage, how big they are and how they're actually giving me some good beans that I'll be able to pick here in the next couple weeks. This one's still not doing so well. I think it got hit with something else once it got transplanted. It really got hit by the beetles too, and just maybe have some disease issues. As you can see, some of these leaves are not doing so hot. So I'll pick these. Plus it's kind of smaller and these kind of shade it during the day. So I've got 4 green bean plants back here. This is a pepper, yellow bell pepper I planted right after I got these. A rosemary bush. It turned more into a bush since I put it back here. It was on the deck. And then these are potato plants. Did them how the square foot gardening technique tells you to do. I started them at the very base of the square foot garden area, and then as they grew, once the potatoes sprouted and grew a little bit, you put some more dirt on them, and then you put some more dirt on them, and you keep doing that until finally you build up another 2x6 level and put more dirt, more dirt, more dirt, and now they're starting to come out the very top of the second 2x6 out of the high rise, what they call it. So these are doing pretty good. I'm hoping that another month or two I'll be able to harvest me some taters. Here's a tomato plant that I had in a very small container. This is a system I got from LDS Prepper. It hadn't done so well because the plants haven't really been given a chance to grow, because almost as soon as I planted them, they got swooped on by the cucumber beetles. So yeah, these are that zucchini plant was actually planted from a container up on my deck. This tomato plant was transplanted from a container that was over there on that table, but the it was only about half that size. And the cage, it was actually, this is the cage that was on it. And then when I brought it back here, I put it in a much bigger cage because I figured it would grow, and it has. But yeah, this is a cherry tomato, and I've already starting to get a cherry tomato off of it. So yeah, zucchini plant. Now that I've gotten rid of the cucumber beetles, and I've also had these little nasties. There's a dead bug. That's a squash bug. I found probably about a dozen of those. Now that I'm taking care of the cucumber beetles, I'm also getting hit by squash bugs. And they leave these nasty little egg pods underneath your leaves that hatch about a day or two later. And those, I mean, they'll probably leave 2 or 3 dozen. Let me see if I can find any. Focus. I don't see any on here. I did get some on just before I started shooting. I probably should have left those so you could see them. But yeah, those little bad boys, they look like you know, a stink bug's evil relative. They'll do some damage to plants, so they started swooping in too, so I've had to kill those too. The soap water works well. Take a tablespoon of soap, mix it with about 25 ounces of water, give or take, and you'll kill pretty much anything that crawls in the garden. Be careful, don't kill beneficials, but you can spray. See, here's some of the damage they do. But you can spray them, and see, once you spray them, they die, just like he's dead. So I've had to kind of prop this up. It was, you can see the stick I've got coming out. No, that's not part of the zucchini plant. This one died. It caught wilt from the cucumber beetles. Sorry, I'm kind of bouncing around over here. It caught wilt from the cucumber beetles. And you can see what wilt does, bacterial wilt. But this and squash vine borer are pretty much the only things that do this. This thing was like that one day, and the next morning I came out and he was like that. So that's a wilt condition. Cucumber beetles, when they poop out a bacteria that causes wilt, and if they happen to poop and then walk in it and drag it into where they've eaten, it'll give the plant wilt. And this is what it does. It prevents the plant from absorbing water and transporting water from the stem to the leaves, and just kills it. Over here, this is a blackberry plant. You can see it's growing really good. This one was kind of damaged when I got it. I think I got this one on sale. Most of these plants I've got came on sale. At least some of the perennial type plants, especially those in my flower beds over there. Here's another blueberry bush. And here is blackberry. Another blackberry. And I think I've already showed you this blueberry bush on here. So yeah, that's the backyard. So I'll be chronicling it for you, and you can live vicariously, garden vicariously through my mistakes and successes. So this is Dewey in Nashville, wishing you the best with whatever you decide to grow.